Okay, today is a very different video from my usual content because today I'll be covering a topic that I was pointed to by anonymous email and then got extremely interested in. It's a wild ride, a crazy story, and hopefully a very interesting watch, so without further ado, it's time to meet the YouTuber who was convicted of treason. This is Andrei Pyzh, a YouTuber, a vlogger, and an explorer who chronicles abandoned industrial facilities, factories, manufacturing plants, and bunkers. Starting around 2013, Andrei was a long-standing veteran of the YouTube platform. Posting over 250 videos in total, his channel Urban Tourism ascended to over 800,000 subscribers during its lifespan, with nearly 100 million total views. By any and all metrics available, Andrei was highly successful, and his continuing growth on the platform was able to reflect that fact. Andrei was a prominent figure in the Russian Urbex community, which is a shortened form of the words urban exploration. This was a widely recognized trend that seemed to have been popularized in 2006 and 2007 by mainstream media attention and entertainment franchises. Shows like Urban Explorers on the Discovery Network or Ghost Hunting from the Atlantic Paranormal Society made the hobby attractive to novice viewers, and an explosion of the activity over subsequent years gave rise to not just Andrei Pyzh, but a host of international creators who found their own ways to engage in what was commonly referred to as roof and tunnel hacking. Basically, a lot of these people were gaining access to places they should not be, facilities that had been deemed unsafe, decommissioned, abandoned, etc. In truth, it's actually incredible to me just how much you can find in these old industrial sites. Tables of gear untouched, entire armories, even half-completed space shuttles, and nuclear reactor substations. Russia, in particular, has an abundance of these locations owing to the collapse of the Soviet Union. In 1991, the USSR officially disbanded, but when that moment came, thousands, probably tens of thousands of state-owned facilities just ceased operation. This was a fairly unique global occurrence in the sense that the Soviet Union had incredible resources at its disposal during that time and was engaged in an active race towards global superpower status, but the state owned practically everything of value. Well, when the state actually collapsed, ownership of industrial facilities collapsed along with it, and many of these locations simply shut down, some of them even overnight, thereby becoming abandoned. This, among many other factors, made Russia an incredibly popular place to engage in urban exploration, especially when the abandoned sites held so much within them, which gave rise to an arms dealer crisis of massive proportion as well, by the way, but that's a story for another day. Capitalizing on this fact, Andrei was able to have a never-ending stream of locations that intrigued his viewers, his millions of viewers. Some of his more popular videos focused on the Chernobyl exclusion zone, for example, and his ability to find or explore abandoned bunkers and Soviet-era facilities allowed for a steady stream of interesting content fueled by a worldwide popular trend. Andrei was a talented and persistent creator who got a small taste of success and wanted more. His escapades led him from regular factories to abandoned metro stations, even the Chernobyl reactor itself, but eventually he found his way into a functional radar station containing parts of the early warning system for Russia's anti-ICBM and nuclear detection network. This was a divergence from his normal content because this facility was allegedly functional at the time and of extreme importance to the Russian government. That is one of the many dangers when it comes to urban exploration. The risk of trespassing, bodily injury, or other judicial action is quite high, depending on where you go. Something like an old textile mill? Probably fine. Something pertaining to the national security of Russia through its nuclear detection framework? Probably not so much. Andrei was popular because he explored interesting places, but that popularity began to attract some unwanted attention. Shortly after his visit to this radar station, a comment appeared on his Instagram page containing the following quote: "You do not understand, young man, that you have not climbed onto a simple object. You may face a real term for breaking into an operating radar station. I am writing from the torture chambers of the Lubyanka." End quote. Lubyanka, for those that don't know, is a popular name for the headquarters of the FSB and its affiliated prison on Lubyanka Square in the Meshchansky district of Moscow. This was a fairly direct message, and we should of course be skeptical that Russian FSB or those working in the torture chambers at their FSB-run prison would be commenting on a YouTuber's Instagram page. It's highly unlikely, but the message was eerie and quite sinister. Well, Andrei was not dissuaded by this, and if anything, he became even more bold. His activities continued until the middle of 2020. On the 6th of August 2020, an order went out from Russian FSB to arrest Andrei for obtaining, possessing, and disseminating state secrets. His arrest was carried out swiftly and widely reported by Russian media after it was intended to be kept quiet by his friends and family, and other certain international outlets, around the 13th, 1 week later. His final video, a live stream discussing a recent trip to Belarus. From August of 2020 to October of 2021, Andrei Pyzh was held, in isolation I might add, within the walls of Lefortovo prison, which was built in 1881 and is most famous for being a KGB torture and isolation facility that was used for interrogating prisoners and extracting information. Now managed by the Ministry of Justice, it should be noted that the prison no longer operates under the exact same code of conduct, but after the order was given, Andrei Pyzh would spend the next year of his life in isolation prison, but no one actually knew why. During this time, his treatment was kept under a tightly controlled flow of information. Some might say misinformation. For example, soon after his arrest, it was reported by various media outlets that he had partially pled guilty, but when Svetlana Bayturina, a lawyer for the human rights group Agora, took up his defense after his state-appointed lawyer had been dismissed, she denied that claim categorically and also levied allegations that she had been repeatedly ignored by the prosecution and was, on multiple separate occasions, denied the ability to even meet with her client. This, plus other alarming factors, made it a very difficult case to examine, at least for me. The Russian FSB has an incredible amount of power, born as the successor to the KGB of the Soviet era, and is widely criticized by human rights organizations for corruption, human rights abuse, and secret police activities. Regardless, in October of 2021, we finally got some answers. Kind of. Andrei Pyzh had been the subject of a 12-man FSB investigation team led by the deputy head of the Moscow department. That's no small thing. And it was alleged that he had obtained state secrets pertaining to Metro 2, which is a secret underground network of tunnels, neither confirmed nor denied by the Russian government at this stage, parallel to the existing Metro, also called Metro 1, in Moscow. This network was reportedly built during the reign of Joseph Stalin and was codenamed D6 by the KGB. How exactly Andrei was able to obtain that information remained kind of unclear. His remarkable ability to gain access to places he shouldn't go was an obvious possibility on that front, but hints in the documentation I could find point to a belief by the FSB that documents were sent to him by a third party. Either way, it is alleged that Andrei placed data on a flash drive and transported it to Ukraine, which thereby placed him in violation of Russian laws against treason. In 2012, the Russian Duma, a lower house of parliament, updated legislation pertaining to treason and expanded how laws could be applied. In a paper analyzing these changes, we can find a relevant historical example for our purposes, where a scientist named Igor Sutyagin, who obtained secrets pertaining to Russia's military economy and military technical research, then shared that information with an American colleague by the name Joshua Handler. Sutyagin maintains to this very day, as far as I know, that he did not collect classified information, nor was he ever given access to classified information, and simply relayed public documents to Handler. Regardless, he was tried and convicted of high treason, as well as disseminating state secrets. Andrei Pyzh has now been convicted in October of 2021 of disseminating state secrets because he transported information about secret government facilities on flash drives to Ukraine, intending to use them for his personal blog and other social media content. That is the claim. He has been sentenced to 5 years in prison, and the Russian government steadfastly maintains that his existing YouTube videos, and social media content in general, had nothing to do with this conviction, but it's hard to know for sure. That eerie, sinister comment on his Instagram? Oddly accurate in a way, but it's probably not actually related to his arrest if we believe the press releases that have been made. But once again, in matters of state secrecy, we very rarely get any sort of complete look at reality and are forced to speculate on what is given under the guise of national security. We almost never get a full picture here. Andrei Pyzh was a rising urbex creator who somehow managed to find himself on the wrong end of the Russian government, the FSB, and legislation against treason. He was convicted of illegally obtaining, then disseminating state secrets, and will serve a 5-year sentence, on a charge that carried a minimum of 3 years. I don't know how many YouTubers approaching 1 million subscribers run afoul of treason charges, or how many are serving prison sentences in clandestine black sites, but for today I want to discuss the interesting case of Andrei Pyzh, who explored way too deep and got burned. Russia has some of the world's harshest anti-digger laws which refer to the hobby of gaining entry to and filming abandoned or even restricted sites. And Andrei is far from the only victim here. Similarly to Andrei, Gennady Nefedov and 5 friends had wandered into a Moscow subway tunnel where they were arrested for trespassing in a restricted zone, under the Administrative Offenses Code, I believe. But a year later, when their pretrial detention in the FSB prison had elapsed, it would seem, their charges were suddenly altered to become illegally obtaining and disseminating state secrets under the Federal Criminal Code, which carries a possible sentence of 8 years and a guarantee of at least 3. In the world of YouTube, many creators will take risks in order to provide compelling or engaging content. And today, I want to discuss one of the more interesting cases where a digger, an urban explorer, and a tunnel hacker was taken in and convicted by the Russian government after managing to get into early warning radar facilities and possibly a whole lot more. But that's it. In 5 years, or hopefully much sooner, because this did just happen recently, the conviction, Andrei will be released and return to his life. But for today, the video is done. If you want support, there is a YouTube platform alternative down below called Odyssey. It's linked in the description. You can subscribe to the channel over there. There's a page called Locals where you get completely ad-free versions of all the content for $5 a month. And there's another YouTuber to check out and support as well, plus a bit more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching and have a nice night.